Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Weekly Shonen Jump Breakdown for the week of September 24th, 2018. My name is Trey, this is the Full Spectrum. Let's get started. We start this week off with Hunter x Hunter 381 Predation, and it's good to have Hunter x Hunter back. The art is definitely taking a little bit of a drop, but Togashi's actually able to write it, so I will take that quality drop if it means that we get more Hunter x Hunter. There's some interesting things that happen in this chapter, seeing that Kacho and Fugetsu's ability requires both of them to use it. So even though Fugetsu was able to get away, without Kacho, she couldn't escape, and they need each other. And so now, of course, she's trying to get them together, but Melody's involved, and everything going there is really interesting to me. There's also some really interesting stuff that happens with the Predator, where it eats Sale Sale's Nin Beast. We didn't even know that was possible, but sure. And we see that, like, Yushohi is now, like, set up to kill with his Nin, which is a stinger that he can place in somebody that, as long as he is within a certain range of them, for a long enough time, he can just kill them. Which is a really nice ability. Again, one of the best things about Nin is the weird abilities that have very harsh restrictions and people having to try to play in those restrictions to be able to succeed. But very, very interesting. And lockdown gets lifted at the end of this chapter because they found Prince Fugetsu. So things are going to get pretty crazy. Sale Sale is pretty much an open target now. Yushohi is going to kill him because he no longer has a Nin Beast to protect him. And I imagine the plan is to continue cycling that around, too. Get the Predator in to take out an Nin Beast, get Yushohi in to get the kill, and there you go. But, very excited for more. Super hyped that Hunter x Hunter's back. If you have forgotten where we're at right now in Hunter x Hunter, Hisoka's on the boat, Kurapika's on the boat, Melody's on the boat, the Spider's on the boat. Nin Beasts are on the boat. The princes all want to kill each other, and they have Nin Beasts, except for Sale Sale now. Kurapika just wants to get this mission done so he can get all the eyes of his clansmen. The Spiders want to kill Hisoka. Hisoka just wants to be Hisoka. And things are nuts. So, very excited for more. Hunter x Hunter, as always, continues to be great. Following that, we had One Piece 918. Luffy Taro returns the favor. This was another fun chapter. Tama taming speed was something I did not expect, and so now Tama has a horsewoman that she can tame. Apparently her Devil Fruit ability works on animal people as long as they are artificial animal people, like they ate an artificial Zoan to become an artificial animal. Because Miss Speed is now forced to do whatever Tama says, basically, and is super loyal to her. And I guess we're just never going to address the forced hypnotism there, mind control, but it's fine, I guess. We also get to see that Tama sees Ace in Luffy and is trying to hide the fact that she's super happy about that. Eventually, again, somebody's going to point out that Luffy and Ace were brothers, and it's all going to come home, and then Tama's going to have to get told that Ace is dead. But it was still cool to see that moment. Law facing off with Hawkins and all his group and using Room again, that was super, super cool to see. I've missed Law quite a bit. And then he gets on the wagon as well, and immediately is just like, come on now, what are you doing? We had a plan. And Luffy's just Luffy. So, plan's been completely disrupted. But they deliver the food, and everybody's super happy. And Luffy declares himself Luffy Taro and promises that people will eat like this every day. The chapter ends with a big cliffhanger of all the graves of the ninja and samurai of Raizo and Kinemon and Momonosuke and all of them. We know those characters that we know as those characters aren't dead, but is it possible that they're pretending to be those people and the actual people are dead? I wouldn't think so, because Momonosuke had the ability to hear Zunisha. So more likely, it's just that the graves are set up because people think they're dead, which is what I had assumed when I saw them first. We'll see how it goes for sure. Following that, we had I'm from Japan 2. Hide's from Saitama. Almost messed that up because I was like, One Punch Man's not here. We get to see birds in the background in the shape of Japan. And then Japan uses a Wanko Soba parry. And, man, Hide just cares about his hometown, just like the first chapter with Tokyo. But Masaru shows up, and Japan's response is pretty cool at first, to jump off the school roof and use like the water navigation techniques of the people of Saitama to like get down to the ground safely. And then he uses death by butt in honor of Shin-chan and jumps around and smacks into people with his rump. Sure, okay. Definitely don't like this chapter as much as the first one, but sure, okay. After it's all over, Hide joins the club. I don't know if the like standard procedure here is going to be that people keep joining as Japan keeps saving them using moves from their hometown. I would be fine with that. And I do like that we keep referencing other manga, but I'm not a big fan of Shin-chan. Like, the humor's fine, but I just don't really like it that much. And so this kind of fell flat for me. I feel like if I knew more about Shin-chan, it would mean a lot more. Like with Togashi last chapter, but we'll see. You know, we get one more chapter of it as a jumpstart before it moves out of Weekly Shonen Jump, in the Viz portion anyway. So we'll see how it goes. After that, we had My Hero Academia. 199, Operation New Improv Moves. This chapter is pretty much about Tokoyami, and we get to see Tokoyami working with Hawks, and how he feels like, you know, that he's just not good enough right now, that Hawks is treating him like a carrier pigeon. He doesn't want that, so he has to work harder. And we get to see that he learns how to fly. And he learns how to fly because Hawks took him flying. And there's this really cool moment where Tokoyami's just like, we've become the wind! And his eyes are like super wide. And it's like, yeah, I mean, he's a birdman that can't fly. So I'm sure for him, it's just like this eye-opening experience as his whole world is shattered. And his new move, Black Fallen Angel, allows him to fly using Black Shadow as they work together. Or Dark Shadow. And I just thought that was really cool. I liked that a lot. Of course, there's the fun twist at the end of the chapter where Momo's like led the team to pretty much victory against that first fight. And she's like, I'm expect the unexpected. I'm ready for everything. And then a mushroom pops up on her nose and she like freaks out. Yeah. Never say you're ready for everything because something will come by that surprises you. But I'm excited for next chapter for sure. This arc's been a lot of fun. And again, just that moment. Again, this is my chapter of the week. Because just that moment of Tokoyami just being like, whoa! Birds can fly! And it's like, yeah, of course they can, you know? But it was a lot of fun. Following that, we had the Promised Neverland 104, Abandon. There's this really cool part in this chapter where, like, the hideout has been almost completely taken over by Andrew's team, and he's checked the teapot, and it's still hot, so they must be around here, you know? And everybody's in the, like, secret armory, except for Lucas and, I completely forgot to write down his name, and it completely lost my mind. Rossi. Lucas and Rossi are inside the telephone room, and there's this great moment where everybody's trying to escape and trying to get to the emergency exits, and Lucas is like, we gotta stop them from activating, like, using the monitors to find everybody because they figured out that we got fake feeds up there. And there's this one guard, and Lucas is still missing his arm, you know, it's all tied off, and he's got a bum leg, but Lucas, like, gets up behind the guy and then just, like, chokes him out as he wraps his leg around him, and the guy is like reaching for his gun, but Lucas chokes him out before he gets to it and just drops him and acts like nothing happened. And I was like, Lucas, you're such a boss, man. You're such a boss. And then of course they find out that they know about the emergency exits, and he sends Rossi to warn everybody. But it's gonna be pretty exciting to see where it goes from here. I still expect some people to die. I think Rossi might go down next, but they also mentioned in this chapter they wanted to go to the caves that Sanju had dug. They're going all the way back there, which means maybe we'll run into Sanju and Mujika again. Two of the best characters in this manga so far, and very interesting characters. But definitely a fun chapter, especially were it not for that Tokoyami moment that legitimately had me laughing. I probably would have given best chapter to this just for that moment with Lucas, because it was beast, man. Lucas is like vicious when he does it. It's really good. Following that, we had Boruto 27, Breakdown and Negotiations. This was probably my favorite Boruto chapter so far. I actually liked it quite a bit. Seeing Kawaki and Boruto interact and just taking the time to build up the relationship between the two. The entire first half of the chapter is just dedicated to them running into each other. And there's this really fun moment where they both try to go to the bathroom at the same time. And Boruto's like, it's my house. Get out of the way, man. And Kawaki's like, sit back because I'm already here. But Naruto's in there, so they can't use it. And so they have to go outside. And, like gentlemen, they take the time to zip their pants up before they start fighting. But they absolutely start fighting. And then Kawaki spills the beans and talks about, everything that had happened to him and tells it all to Boruto. And it was cool because, Kawaki's probably never had a friend before. And so even just connecting with Boruto on that little amount was enough to make him go, yeah, I probably should talk to somebody about all this messed up stuff that I've seen. And Boruto is just like, sure, man, that's great. But until you fix that vase that you broke, that my little sister made, we ain't talking. I was like, okay, well, I get it. Boruto's mad. And, Boruto could have at least given him the time of day for opening up his heart to him. But, it's fine. Boruto's mad. So Kawaki, wants to fix it. And I thought the little character interactions here were so much better than, big bombastic fights. In fact, when the fight happens here, I actually was not invested in the fight at all. Because it kept switching perspectives between the two of them, panel-wise, without actually having, a progressing shot in between. And it was just super jarring. There's a moment where Boruto, kicks back and Kawaki is sent flying up. And then we hard perspective shift to Boruto jumping up above him from the other side. And it almost looks like the world twists around to allow that perspective shift to happen. It was really jarring and definitely took me out of that moment. So I feel like Boruto is at its best when we are not doing fights. We are instead doing character building, but it's a shonen. So we'll be back to the battle soon enough, I'm sure. After that, we had Black Clover 174 flying in. Oh, my man, Finral, using those captains well, sending them behind the elves they're attacking to be able to hit them. Finral's great. Finral's amazing. I love him so much. Then we get to see, the elves on that rampage inside the castle, which is really cool. And Solid, freaking out because he's still upset about Noelle beating him. And then Nebra just goes down, man. She just loses hardcore. And we see that Licht has shown up out there with all his people. He's in the fortress they have. But then the remaining royals have shown up in the form of Silva and the rest of that bunch. So things are about to get crazy. I think Noelle will probably be the one that saves Solid and Nebra. But it seems poetic. But at the same time, I'm very much excited to see where the story goes. After that, we had Dr. Stone 75, 20-second countdown. Messed up my own little bit that I do. Chapter's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff that happens in it. But the big things that I wanted to hit on are Kinro and Kohaku talking about how they haven't been allowed to kill, and Kinro thinking about how unreasonable that really is. And then Taiju, man, my man Taiju just steps up this chapter. He comes in with the carbon fiber shield and is just taking hits to protect everybody. And then they have this shock cannon after the tank goes down. And they're setting off explosions right in front of a ring of stone of some sort. It said it, but I don't remember which one. Right in front of a copper field. And it's projecting it back as sound waves. Which is definitely messing up Tsukasa's guys. And they are able to get a lucky hit on Chrome, and the powder goes flying, which is really cool because, hey, now we can't do it. But we had set up from chapter 1. One of the first things that Senku said when he found Taiju was, "You are still as loud as ever." And that has set up in my head the idea since then that Taiju is extremely loud all the time. And so Taiju notices the powder is gone, and he grabs a hold of the ring, and while getting hit by the sound waves himself, just roars into the shot cannon and just takes out the rest of Tsukasa's guys. And it was super cool, and it was super dumb, and I loved it. There were some other cool moments too, like Ukyo and Nikki stopping the reporter girl from going back to Tsukasa. But it all, ends up in them taking the Miracle Cave in 20 seconds flat with no losses. It was pretty cool. I enjoyed it quite a bit. After that, we had We Never Learn 80 at Steam's Edge. A disastrous X increases the predecessor's distress. So this is a Karisu chapter, and if you have been following the Weekly Shonen Jump Breakdown, you know that Karisu is best girl, which means that this is a great chapter. No, we're not going to be biased like that. We're going to actually look at the chapter. Right off the bat, this chapter had me in a good mood because there's the notice that, hey, the hot water is out, and the propane that heats the hot water is out, and the notice that has due to bloody blah circumstances, your hot water will no longer be available for bloody blah, and it just is basically like it ends in for one day. It's just like it's really good. You knew that nobody super cared about the reason, so you just went to town on it, and that's great. The only thing that might have been better is it was like due to dinosaurs attacking. But then we get this fun moment where Yuiga's sister asks Karisu if she is going to marry Yuiga. And this, of course, is all predicated on the fact that many times in previous chapters, someone has asked Yuiga in front of his siblings, normally it's his other sister or his mom, like where he's been, and he'll say that he's been at Mafuyu Sensei's, helping her with something, or had to stay late because of Mafuyu Sensei. She's been brought up a lot. And it's when his little sister hears him say her name that she immediately is like, are you going to marry our brother? Which is really cool, because it doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's like, hey, this person's name has been brought up in front of this child a lot. One of my personal favorites is the moment where Asumi and Karisu are sitting there talking, and they both go to talk about Yuiga, and then realize that they probably shouldn't talk about just how far he's gone to help either one of them. And they just don't. And then the moment at the end where Asumi is teasing Yuiga, like, you're so lucky getting to carry somebody like her. And Karisu just cannot look him in the eye. And Yuiga's just like, don't make this worse. And just, like, looks away. And it was just a lot of fun to have them two not being able to interact. Because normally, no matter what, they can at least try. But I thought it was really fun. It's definitely going to wind up coming back up again later. And there was a single thing when Hazuki asked her in the bath, and Karisu was like, no, would never happen. Or that can't happen. And Hazuki begins to cry. Karisu immediately buckles and is like, well, maybe someday. And I was like, is that? I had said before that Furuhashi wins this, but maybe I'm wrong. It might be. Regardless, it was a really fun chapter. After that, we had Food Wars 280, The Scent of a Comeback. We get to see Ken and his group doing well, and Team Polaris doing pretty well, but we finally get to see the Council's restaurant open for business, and it almost looks like a horror movie for a moment, or like a horror manga, as Ken runs out on the beach and there's nobody there. Where'd everybody go? And then you find out, the secret is that there's yakisoba, and there's a soft-boiled egg in the yakisoba, and when you break open the soft-boiled egg, it releases like a cloud of aroma, and it just brings everybody in. Because that's what Hayami has always been good at, is aroma, and getting people to, go for his cooking because it smells better. And so you bundle that in with the actual experienced chefs that are in the Council of 10, and you have a recipe for success right there. And not only do they succeed, they succeed by 3.5 million more than they needed. And you get this fun moment at the end where Hayama is just like, happy to serve. It's like, no, don't steal someone's catchphrase. But it was a lot of fun seeing the build-up. I feel like I haven't really given it any time at all, but there's not really much to say. Most of it is in the way the soft-boiled egg is revealed and like Ken's reaction to it. But it was a lot of fun. I really liked this chapter. And again, were it not for Tokiyami's freak out and for Lucas's choke out, this probably would have been chapter of the week just because how great that was. But the horror moment. But it was really solid. I did not change it over. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. There we go. After that, we had Teenage Renaissance David 2, Teenage Soccer. So, this chapter starts out pretty well. I mean, David's got to pee, but he's doing okay. Because, they're playing soccer, and it's got to be fine. And then he gets hit in the groin by a soccer ball. But he grits his teeth, He doesn't pee on himself. Then he gets hit by a second soccer ball. Don't know why there's 2 balls in the game. But he doesn't pee himself, and he grits his teeth, and he continues on. And he takes the shot, and he makes it, and then he pees his pants. But it's okay, because Peace shows up, and he pees on him, so that everybody thinks it was just that he got too excited. I am already super done with this manga, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was willing to give the first chapter, like, I think the premise is still really cool. I was willing to give the first chapter, like, a pass, but I'm just not a big fan of pee humor. Like, I'm okay with the, oh, I gotta pee, but I gotta do this thing, and that, like, dichotomy. Like, I'm okay with that. I can live with that. But I'm just not a big fan of pee humor. And this just continues that. I think the idea of somebody peeing on somebody else is super gross. So the fact that it's happened to David, like, multiple times now is, like, super gross. So I don't know. We get one more David chapter next week before it leaves Jumpstart. Maybe it'll be better. Because I think the character design's really cool. And I think the idea of, like, anytime something, like, big happens, it happens in Italian is really nifty. But, I don't know, man. Following that, we had Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V 38, Our Pride. The brothers are fading. There's nothing else you can do about it. They're fading away. They've been here too long already. They have to go. They are just spirits at this point, after all. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Refuses to give up. They all pendulum summon their ace monsters back. I don't know how. It's not really explained. But despite their best efforts, G.O.D. just continues pulling out cards to counter them. Then it makes them an offer, or makes Yu-Gi an offer, basically, to bring the brothers back to life. And he has to think about it. Like, if he'll just give in, G.O.D. will give him back his brothers. And it's really cool that he has to think about it. Like, normally the hero's just like, no! But Yu-Gi's just like you can tell in the panel that he's, like, really torn up about this. And then his brothers say no. They're the ones who stop it. Yu-Gi winds up not making the decision at all, which I really liked. They basically just go, no, we died for our brother and we're proud of it. You're not going to stop him. We'll give him all our strength. So they give him all their strength and vanish in the process, saying their last farewells to Yuya. Yuto, Yuri, and Yugo are not gone, Yuya explains, as they're still with him, as he draws a glowing card, God Eyes Phantom Dragon. Sure, okay. I really honestly think that if we could just leave the card game behind, Yu-Gi-Oh! Could have some interesting stories, because the whole idea of this being that is giving people the ability to, like, live in, like, time loops with their family members before they die, but they're stuck in those time loops, like, that's really cool. And the whole thing with the brothers and their sacrifice is really cool. But I'm a hard stickler for rules in a system, and Arc V breaks those rules all the time, just like every previous Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. So, you know, regardless, next chapter, Yuya probably wins, and then we get a moment where, you know, he misses his brothers, and he feels them, like, still supporting him from the afterlife, and he has to move forward. But we shall see. Until next time, though, chapter of the week again went to My Hero Academia 199, Operation New Improv Moves for Tokiyami's freak out when he learned how to fly. I have been Trey. This has been the Full Spectrum. And remember to always enjoy Full Spectrum Jump has to offer. And so then, of course, as the chapter folds out, that keeps coming back. And